Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gildarts walked towards the Magnolia station. When he was walking towards the ticket office, he suddenly paused. Then he turned around calmly and looked around. His eyes gradually became sharper, scanning the people walking around, but he did not find anything unusual. Are you Gildarts? You look strong. Do you want to fight me? I'll be waiting for you in the East Forest. Gildarts looked interested when he heard this, and left the station without hesitation. In the East Forest, Gildarts came to a secluded place. Leila's cabin was in the north, and he was in the south. Come out. Gildarts shouted to the people around him. Suddenly, a black figure appeared in front of Gildarts. As for why it was a black shadow, the man was wearing a black windbreaker with a hood down, hiding himself in it, not wanting anyone to know his identity. The moment the man appeared, he attacked Gildarts. Gildarts raised his right hand suddenly, and his cloak fluttered backwards. He rushed forward and hit with all his strength. When the two fists collided, a powerful wave spread out from their fists, and the surrounding trees were blown to shake. Seeing that the other party did not use magic, Gildarts gave up magic and started a close combat with him. However, after several rounds of fierce confrontation, the man suddenly stopped and took a step back. Let's stop here for today. The man interrupted the fight. Although his heart was filled with irrepressible excitement and his fists were still shaking slightly, he still tried to keep calm and calm down. Good. Gildarts also stopped. After you return from this mission, I hope you can do me a favor. Help? With your strength, do you still need my help? Gildarts' voice was mixed with a hint of doubt. From the previous battle, he could feel that the strength of the man in front of him was not bad. For some reason, I can't do it myself. The man said helplessly. What are the conditions? I won't do anything in vain unless you can fight me with all your strength. Fight with all your strength? Unfortunately, no. But I'm sure you'll be interested in this reward. I'll exchange it for a message. A piece of news? Gildarts was full of doubt. He was too confident to ask for help from the strongest Gildarts with just a piece of news. The man only said 4 words, but Gildarts was stunned, his face full of disbelief. He wanted to ask for more details. This is the reward. If you want to know, hurry up and complete the task. I will tell you when you come back. In addition, I can guarantee that she is fine now. After the black-robed man said this, he disappeared in the forest in an instant. Gildarts still stood there, and then realized that this person did not use magic, so how did he teleport? Forget it, let's go to work. Gildarts walked quickly to the station. He just wanted to complete the commission as soon as possible and then come back to ask the man for clarification. Hey, please leave me your contact information. Gildarts took a few steps and suddenly his mind went blank. How should he contact him again? I will wait for you in Magnolia in the next few months. At this time, the man's voice sounded in Gildarts' mind. Okay. Gildarts set off on his journey. At the guild, Kana was staring at Gildarts' back, standing there blankly. The words stuck in her throat, and she didn't say them in the end. She felt mixed emotions, and kept wondering why he didn't realize it was her. Little girl, what can I do for you? Makeo and Wakaba, who were passing by, saw a little girl curled up at the entrance of the guild with a puppy squatting next to her, so they asked. It's dangerous to hang around in a place like this. Wakaba echoed. Excuse me, when will Gildarts come back? Kana heard a voice behind her, turned around, and saw the two people. She mustered up her courage and timidly asked them about Gildarts. Are you a fan of Gildarts? Seeing the little girl paying so much attention to Gildarts, Makeo and Wakaba couldn't help but wonder if she was a fan of Gildarts. No. Kana wanted to prove her relationship with Gildarts, but she wanted to tell Gildarts face to face. He is currently carrying out the commission. It may take 2 or 3 days, or even a month. We don't know. Makeo and Wakaba were also a little embarrassed. Don't worry, he will definitely come back. Would you like a glass of juice? Seeing Kana's disappointed face, the two of them comforted her. Then they led Kana into the guild. Leila, come and take care of this little girl. When they entered the guild, they saw Leila standing at the door of the intelligence room and called her over. Well, okay. Leila responded and walked over. We are both here, she seems a little reserved, you come and accompany her. Mtlnovel and Wakabla came over to Leila, lowered their heads and whispered, and told Leila that the little girl seemed to have something important to do with guild arts. I understand. Leila nodded. Leila sat down and saw Kana with short hair and big beautiful eyes, but her eyes had lost their luster and she was a little depressed. Seeing Kana fidgeting, she was about to speak when Mtlnovel brought 2 glasses of juice and put them on the table, asking her to taste it. Little girl, if you have anything to ask, just ask this guy. He is also very familiar with guild arts. Mtlnovel said to Kana and turned away. Kana heard that Leila, who was sitting in front of her, was familiar with guild arts, and her eyes suddenly shone brightly. She wanted to ask immediately, but suddenly seemed to remember something and lowered her head. Hello, my name is Leila Sloan, what's your name? Leila smiled and looked at the little Kana in front of her. My name is Kana Arapolona. Kana answered timidly. Kana, do you admire guild arts? Yes. Kana's voice was weak but full of determination. Yes, the uncle is very powerful, and everyone in the guild respects him very much. The uncle is also very generous and always smiles at the people in the guild, but he has a small flaw. Disadvantages? Kana's eyes flashed with doubt. Yes, that uncle is an out-and-out workaholic. But he doesn't like work. Work is secondary to him. What he really likes is the feeling of traveling. Like traveling? Kana's eyes revealed a hint of curiosity. Leila told Kana about Gildart's personality traits, his popularity in the guild, his favorite things, his innocent appearance, and his occasional days. Kana also concentrated on holding the juice and listened to Leila's story attentively. Leila kept telling Kana every bit about Gildarts, hoping that Kana would gradually forget the unhappiness that Gildarts did not recognize her. Kana, do you want to join Fairy Tale? Leila felt that the time was ripe, so she asked softly. Fairy Tale? Are there any conditions for joining? Kana thought about it after hearing Leila's invitation. Joining Fairy Tale would make it easier for her to see Giddaz when he returned, but she didn't know the specific requirements for joining the Magic Guild. There are no conditions. If you join the guild, we are a family. Leila explained to Kana gently, asking Kana to think carefully. But I don't know magic. Kana was a little excited, but then she thought that she would have to learn magic to join the Magic Guild, but she didn't know anything. It doesn't matter if you don't know magic. Makarov suddenly jumped out, appeared in front of Kana, and said kindly. Really? Grandpa. Of course, do you want to join? I join in. Okay, let's have a party today. It's Kana's welcome party. Let's have fun. Makarov shouted after hearing that Kana agreed to join. The people in the guild were also in high spirits and cheered excitedly. Kana, who was watching all this, was so moved that she shed tears. Leila also looked at Kana with a smile. Welcome to Fairy Tale. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Kana agreed to join Fairy Tale, a grand banquet was held in the guild. Everyone warmly welcomed Kana's arrival. They put their hands on each other's shoulders and hummed cheerful songs. Mtlnovel and Wakaba were there shouting bring the wine, and Giddaz painted this scene on his drawing board. At this time, Giddaz was still very thin, and the whole guild was immersed in a lively atmosphere. Leila and Kana sat aside, watching the people in the guild laughing and playing, and Leila said to Kana, as for me, I have no father and no mother, but fortunately I was rescued and taken in by my grandfather. But then he had something to do, and he had no choice but to let me join this guild. The people in this guild are very nice, they are lively like this every day, and every guild member treats each other as family. Kana nodded vigorously and agreed deeply. Although this guild is a bit noisy, everyone is really happy. By the way, Kana, do you have a place to go? If not, the guild has a girls' dormitory. Leila suddenly remembered that Kana was still young and might not be able to work independently, so it would be better for her to live in the guild's girls' dormitory. Well, the president has just told me that he will take me there. Kana felt Leila's concern and answered seriously. Leila looked up at Makarov, whose face was red and still clamoring for a drink, and sighed helplessly. This old man is still very thoughtful, but he really won't let me down. Of course, Makarov did not disappoint Leila. After the banquet, he was already drunk. Leila saw that it was getting late, so she led Kana to Makarov. Hey, Kana, are you enjoying your drink? Makarov was holding up his glass, ready to drink it all, when he suddenly found Leila and Kana standing beside him, and asked without thinking. Old man, didn't you say you were going to send Kana to the girls' dormitory? Leila was speechless when she saw Makarov still talking nonsense. Yes, don't panic, Kana, I'll take you there right away. Makarov was stunned for a moment, apparently forgetting about this matter, and then he put down the wine in a panic and stood up, but he wanted to fall down as soon as he stood up. Forget it, I'll take her there, and you should go back as well, old man. Leila saw that Makarov was unsteady on his feet, so she quickly stepped forward to support him. Well, thank you, Leila, be careful on the road. After Leila said this, Makarov quickly stood firm, then held Leila's hand and said with a smile on his face. I will. Seeing this, Leila guessed the old man's little thoughts directly, that he just wanted to continue drinking, so she answered with gritted teeth. Then, he said to Kana, who was standing obediently beside him, Kana, let's go. Well, goodbye, Grandpa President. Kana extended her hand and politely said goodbye to Makarov, who smiled and raised his hand in response. Leila led Kana, holding the small package Kana was carrying, and Kana led her dog, out of the guild gate, turned right and walked towards Fairy Hill. It was called this name because the girls' dormitory was built on a small hill. However, the girls' dormitory is very close to the guild. Go to the right and walk past a few houses, then cross a stone bridge, and you can see the dormitory. Finally, climb a small slope, and you will see a sign with the words Fairy Hills. The entire girls' dormitory is in the shape of an eye, with 3 floors, and a long corridor in the middle connecting the rooms on both sides. Before she reached the door, a woman pushed it open, as if she had noticed something that shouldn't be in the girls' dormitory. She stared at Leila and asked, Boys? Don't you know this is a girls' dormitory? Oh, Grandma, the old man drank too much, so he asked me to bring Kana to you. Leila quickly explained her purpose, otherwise Grandma Hilda would really beat her. After hearing Leila's explanation, Grandma Hilda let him go and turned to look at Kana, who was standing there obediently. You must be Kana, right? Makarov has already told me. I'll take you to your room. Grandma Hilda took Kana's hand, glanced fiercely at Leila, and was about to go back to the dormitory. Kana looked back at Leila, who smiled and waved at her. Kana, I'm leaving now. Let Grandma take you back to your room. See you tomorrow. Well, okay. Kana agreed, watching Leila leave, and then followed Granny Hilda into the dormitory hall. Granny Hilda arranged a room for Kana at the front desk of the hall and prepared some daily necessities. She also helped Kana register her personal information, and then took her to a room on the first floor and laid out the sheets and quilts for her. Granny Hilda asked Kana if she needed toiletries or other items, but Kana said that she had brought daily necessities and did not need to prepare. Granny Hilda arranged the room for Kana very carefully, and then introduced the whole room to her. After confirming that Kana did not need anything, she pushed the door open and left, and when closing the door, she reminded Kana to take a shower before going to bed, and if she was afraid in the middle of the night, she could call her at any time. After Leila left the girls' dormitory, when she passed the guild, she happened to see Makarov standing at the door and preparing to close the door. Just after Makarov closed the door of the guild, he turned around and found Leila's figure. Send Kana over. That's good. You should go home early too. Okay, got it. After Makarov talked to Leila for a few words, he staggered away with the bottle of wine. Although it was a little late, Leila did not use magic to go back directly, but strolled along the street. Everything happened very quickly. He was not fully prepared yet, but the plan had already begun. He just hoped that nothing would happen during the period. The next day, Leila came to the guild early. There were not many people in the guild. He looked around and did not find any trace of Kana. He thought that she should not have woken up yet. Unlike me, I am so diligent. If Auguste heard it, he would definitely hit her with a stick. On the other hand, Kana had already. After getting up, I was shopping with Granny Hilda. It turned out that Granny Hilda noticed that Kana's daily necessities had been used for a long time and were a little worn out, so she insisted on buying some new daily necessities and clothes for Kana. After buying things, the two returned to the dormitory and placed the items in the room. Kana thanked Granny Hilda and said that she would repay her after she started working and making money. However, Granny Hilda said no, and also said, "Don't be a wizard anymore." Kana was confused by this and didn't know why Granny Hilda said so, so she walked towards the guild with doubts. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Leila, do you know why Grandma said that? Kana tilted her head and asked in confusion. Ah. You ask me? I don't know either. Maybe you can ask the old man. I think he will be happy to answer you. Leila didn't know either. He only knew Granny Hilda but didn't have much contact with her. What happened, little Kana? Makarov, who was sitting on the counter, noticed Kana walking towards him, jumped down and smiled at Kana. Kana told Makarov that she had moved into the girls' dormitory, and also told Makarov about Grandma Hilda. Kana thought that Grandma Hilda was so nice, why would she say such a thing? Makarov listened to Kana's story carefully, thinking that this old woman was just hard-mouthed but soft-hearted. Kana, what do you think a wizard is? Kana is only 6 years old now. She doesn't know the specific content of a wizard's job. They selected and accepted the commissions, and then set out on a journey, but the commissions were accompanied by dangers, because most of them were commissions to defeat monsters. There were many kinds of monsters, and if they were not strong enough, they would lose their lives. There were also many wizards who died because the commissions were too difficult. Kana, being a wizard is very dangerous. Hilda always said that sentence, and it almost became a catchphrase, because every time she saw girls doing dangerous work, she was worried. Makarov said with narrowed eyes, and at the same time recalled the years when Hilda became the head of the girls' dormitory. Kana stood next to Makarov, listening to Makarov's words carefully, and silently remembered these words in her heart. After speaking, Makarov touched Kana's head, and then Kana walked away and walked towards the table where Leila was sitting. Leila was playing a kind of card. Kana was a little puzzled when she saw it. She didn't understand what Leila was doing, and then asked Leila, "Leila, what are you doing?" "Oh, Kana, are you done asking? Did you get the answer you wanted?" Leila noticed Kana and said to her, but she didn't stop her hands. Leila, what are you doing?" Kana answered Leila's question, but what concerned him was what Leila was doing with the cards. "Well, it's nothing. I just want to learn some card divination. Didn't you ask Gildarts when he would be back? I want to give it a try, but I really have no talent and can't figure out anything." Leila said casually. On the way back last night, Leila passed by a magic shop and bought a book about card divination and a deck of cards. Just as she was about to leave, she turned around and bought a deck of wind chant, and went back to learn divination, but I don't know if Leila's talent for divination is really bad, or he is cursed. The results of his divination are all biased, as if his own magnetic field is not compatible with divination. Originally, he wanted to pretend that he couldn't do divination in front of Kana after learning it, but who knew that the result was that he really couldn't do it. He was a little depressed at this time. Leila saw that Kana was a little moved, so she asked her, "Kana, do you want to try it?" "But I can't do it either, and I haven't learned it." "It's okay." Leila saw that Kana had taken the bait, so she waved her hand, took out a book of card divination from behind, and put it on the table. Kana stood up curiously and looked behind Leila, but found nothing. She was puzzled, but where did this book come from? "Kana, take your time to study. I have something to do. Leila heard Matteo calling him, so he said something to Kana and left. Well, okay. Kana took the book and responded to Leila obediently. After Leila and Matteo chatted, Matteo left the guild and went out to work, but Leila did not disturb Kana, who was studying. Suddenly, Kana frowned slightly when she felt that the guild was a bit noisy. Leila also noticed this, so she walked over and took Kana to her intelligence room, and then Leila left. Half a day later, Kana ran out excitedly, and then took Leila into the intelligence room. Leila was pulled to sit down before she could react, while Kana sat opposite her with a serious expression, staring at Leila and asking her to tell him what he wanted to tell, but then added in a low voice, "It's just a small thing." Leila had been listening to Kana seriously, but when she heard Kana's words, "It's just a small thing," she couldn't hold it anymore, and looked at Kana with a smile, but was choked by Kana's eyes. Then she sat up straight and said, "Let's tell today's fortune." After hearing this, Kana picked up the cards and started to tell fortunes, while Leila watched quietly, thinking to herself, "This method is the same as mine, it won't be successful, it hasn't been learned for a long time." After Kana finished the divination, she took the card and said, "Your fortune is very good today, but you will be entangled by a friend. Even if you have good luck, you will still be entangled." Leila carefully observed the card. He also knew some of the rules. Overall, it was good. "Leila, let's go." The door of the intelligence room was kicked open, and Laxus walked in. When he saw Leila, he pulled her out the door. "Huh?" Leila turned around and saw Laxus, who was furious. Just as she was about to ask what was wrong, she was pulled away by a strange force. Leila knew what Laxus was going to do and understood the meaning of the card. "Kana, I'm going out first. Your prediction is very accurate. You should study hard." Before Leila finished her words, Laxus took her out of the guild and rushed out like a flash of lightning. Kana looked at Leila in surprise and wanted to say something, but only Leila's words came out. In an instant, the two disappeared. Kana was still stunned by this scene. Then Makarov came over and said it was okay, and let Kana go back to the house to study. Kana's talent for divination is really good. Leila was dragged by Laxus to fight for an afternoon. Because he encountered stupid things in the commission, he was very angry. In the next week, Kana's divination became more and more profound, and even the members of the guild recognized it. Matteo and Wakaba would come to Kana for divination from time to time. However, Kana did not learn magic. Matteo and Wakaba saw the results of Kana's divination and said, "Kana, why don't you just learn to use card magic?" Wakaba also agreed, "Card magic, this is a good idea. But, can someone like me learn magic?" Kana lowered her head, feeling a little depressed, and a feeling of inferiority surged up. "If it's Kana, it will definitely work." Matteo affirmed, and Wakaba also agreed, "Yes, Kana has a good talent for card magic, she is definitely much better than Leila." What does it have to do with me? How can you belittle me? What can I do? Leila was watching the show nearby and heard her name mentioned in the conversation. Mind, everything comes from the mind you are willing to believe in, Kana. Whether it is divination, faith or prayer, it is a kind of magic, and it is a miracle that only those who believe can feel. Therefore, only those who believe in the existence of magic, believe in their own power, and believe that everything is with nature can use magic. Makarov came over from a distance, and then said to Kana seriously, "Heart." Kana seemed to understand, but she also seemed to have made up her mind. In the following days, Kana devoted herself to learning card magic and immersed herself in the guild's library every day. Leila visited her several times and found that Kana had been studying seriously, sometimes even sleeping directly on the table. Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A month later, Kana got up early, opened the curtains and pushed open the window to let the sunlight into the house, tidied herself in front of the mirror, and skipped to the guild, humming an unknown song on the way. When she arrived at the guild, Kana took a deep breath to calm down, ordered a glass of juice at the counter, and sat at a table. Leila saw Kana sitting there quietly, and also walked to Kana with a thick face, and asked her with a smile on her face, "Kana, can you help me with a fortune-telling today?" Before, Leila would always ask Kana for divination when she had nothing to do, and even asked Kana to calculate the fortune of the day every day, but Kana said that she couldn't do this, because it would affect herself, so she asked Leila to come to her when she was in a good mood. It's not clear whether someone went to measure the fortune too frequently, or whether it was really bad. In short, after Kana reminded her, Leila rarely asked this question again, but Kana seemed to be in a good mood today, and Leila also saw Kana smiling unintentionally, otherwise he would not ask Kana. "Okay, do you still want to test your fortune today?" Kana was in a good mood and agreed to Leila's request, then asked. "Yeah." Leila agreed after hearing this, and then watched Kana do the divination silently. Today's divination results show that you will travel far, and this journey will be smooth." Kana said the result after analyzing the divination cards, and she looked at Leila while speaking, "Traveling far?" The only long journey recently was to the north, and Kana seemed to be in a good mood today, so Gildarts must be coming back. Leila frowned slightly, unconsciously holding her chin, staring at the table. "Are you going out?" Kana looked at Leila, interrupting his thoughts. "Well, I do have to go out." "Thank you for your divination, Kana." Kana's words brought Leila back to reality. He immediately reacted and answered quickly. After that, Leila stood up and walked towards Makarov's position, leaving Kana who was about to ask. "Hey, old man, I have to go out today." Leila walked up to Makarov and told the old man that she was going out. You usually don't tell me when you go out. What's wrong? Will you be out for a long time this time?" Makarov opened his right eye and glanced at Leila, then asked casually. "Grandpa President, Leila will be out for a long time. I have already predicted the result for him." Kana saw that Leila didn't want to say anything, so she followed him from the table. "Well, Kana is really amazing, what's the result?" Makarov immediately changed his voice to a gentle one when he heard Kana's voice, narrowed his eyes and smiled, and spoke to Kana in a friendly manner. "The result was very smooth, but the time is not very certain." Kana told Makarov the result obediently. "Well, okay, how long do you want to predict?" Makarov nodded after hearing Kana's words, then looked at Leila and agreed, but still asked Leila the time. "It could take as little as 1 or 2 weeks, or as much as a month." Seeing that Makarov agreed, Leila was relieved and told Makarov the approximate time she estimated. Fortunately, she had the result of Kana's divination, otherwise it would be difficult to get the old man to agree. "Okay, be careful. Oh, take this with you," Makarov said to Leila after getting the answer, and then took out a magic crystal from his back and gave it to Leila. "Good." Leila took the magic crystal and put it away. Kana looked at her in confusion. She was so small, but she had a big question mark in her mind. This is a magic crystal specially used for communication, for emergency use, and easy to carry. Makarov explained, and then turned to look at Leila, not polite at all, with a hint of disgust in his tone. "Okay, get your things ready and leave." "Okay, I'll go back first," Leila said and went back to her intelligence room to pack up and teleport away. Makarov felt the fluctuation of the teleportation magic, glanced at it and stopped paying attention. Kana glanced at the time, and couldn't help but get excited. She put her hands on her legs, lowered her head and smiled secretly, practicing the sentence repeatedly in her heart. At this time in the East Forest, Gildarts was still standing where he left last time, waiting. Soon the figure appeared in front of him, but this time Gildarts could sense that he used the teleportation magic, but there was no trace of magic fluctuation last time. "I thought you would wait a little longer." Gildarts was getting impatient, but he still tried his best to remain calm. "Let's go. Can't you tell me some details in advance?" Gildarts knew it was not a good idea to ask for the reward before completing the commission, but he still couldn't help but feel confused at the news. "All right, I'll go back to the guild." Gildarts was silent for a while, feeling a little disappointed. "Sure. I'll tell you the news directly, but you owe me a favor." "Good." Gildarts decisively accepted the condition, hoping to learn as soon as possible. Your daughter, her name is Kana Alyapolona, and she has now joined the Fairy Tale Guild. After hearing this, Gildarts kept repeating this name, wanting to remember it in his heart. At this time, Gildarts was no longer calm, with only the name Kana in his mind, and he couldn't help but want to go straight to the guild. Here's a piece of news. The last time you left the guild, the girl at the door was Kana. She is Kana. But why didn't she say it? Gildarts felt a little sad after hearing this. Maybe it was because you were in a hurry to catch the train, but it could also be because she realized that you didn't recognize her. Gildarts was speechless. The guilt in his heart urged him to walk directly towards the guild. His figure gradually disappeared into the distance. Oh my God, you are walking so fast, hurry up and go back to the guild to take a sneak photo. Teleport. Magnolia rang the bell, and this time Gildarts no longer had a dazed expression on his face, but walked quickly to the guild, and found that most people were standing at the door of the guild waiting for him. He smiled and greeted everyone, while searching for the figure in the crowd, but did not find it. He had no choice but to walk into the guild and talk to Makarov about the matters of this work, and then told Makarov that he had something to do and would be away for a while, and could not accept the commission. Makarov first noticed something after hearing this, and then told Gildarts that it was okay and understood. After Gildarts finished speaking, he was about to continue looking for Kana, and Makarov suddenly said, "By the way, Gildarts, this little girl wants to tell you something. She is the new member Kana. She is very cute." As she said that, Kana walked out from behind Makarov and said in a trembling voice, "Please, excuse me." Gildarts saw the familiar hair color, quickly stepped forward, squatted down, and hugged Kana tightly. "You are Cornelia's child." Gildarts' nose was sore, tears could not stop flowing, and his voice was also a little sobbing. Kana was hugged tightly in Gildarts' arms. She didn't know what was going on and wanted to finish what she had just said, but Gildarts' words made Kana stunned. "Sorry, Kana, I didn't recognize you last time." No, it's okay." Dad recognized Kana this time. "Daddy won't leave you alone next time." "Dad?" Makarov and other members of the guild were all stunned, and some of them were petrified. However, a figure in the crowd quickly took out a camera, took a picture, and disappeared. At the same time, Lidas quickly took out his equipment and fixed the scene of the two of them in the painting. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The recognition between Gildarts and Kana was very touching. On the other side, the lonely Leila was bored waiting for Gildarts in the forest. She picked up a branch and poked it on the ground. She looked up to the sky and sighed, "How long do I have to wait? I really want to go back and see." After the two recognized each other, the members of the guild couldn't believe that Gildarts, a natural and rough old man, actually had such a lovely daughter. However, they were more happy for the reunion of the father and daughter. After all, when they saw Kana coming to the guild alone before, everyone thought Kana was an orphan. They couldn't help but feel pity and sympathy for the little girl's life experience. Who would have thought that Kana's father was actually Gildarts? The guild members knew that the two also needed space to be alone at this time, so they held a simple celebration ceremony in the guild and didn't disturb them afterwards. Gildarts took Kana back home and told her the story of himself and Kana's mother Cornelia. After he married Cornelia, he was always busy with work and ignored Cornelia's feelings, which led to her leaving him. Gildarts had heard that she had left before, but he didn't know that they had a child. Gildarts said he was very sorry to Kana. Later, Kana also told Gildarts that he learned about him from his mother's notes. Later, with the help of Father Brock, he embarked on a journey to find Gildarts. After that, he joined the guild and lived in the girls' dormitory. The dormitory head mother-in-law was also very good to her, and she also learned magic in the guild. They talked for a long time at home. Both of them were telling each other stories, but Gildarts was talking, and his guilt surged into his heart like a tide. Listening to Kana's unfortunate experience, Gildarts hugged her tightly, and Kana also hugged Gildarts tightly. Both of them were silent, quietly enjoying this rare moment. Time passed quietly. Gildart saw that it was getting late, and the man was still waiting for him in the East Forest. He had to fulfill his promise, although he was extremely reluctant. He still told Kana that he had things he had to do, and then promised Kana that he would be back soon and let her take good care of herself in the guild. At the same time, he brought Kana to the guild, paid the rent for the girls' dormitory for Kana, and asked Makarov to take good care of her. Kana also waved goodbye to Gildarts, and said that she would take good care of herself and wait for him to come back. Seeing Kana so well behaved and sensible, Gildarts felt warm in his heart. He smiled, gently stroked Kana's head, said I'm leaving, then turned and left the guild, taking firm steps, and walked towards the direction of the East Forest. I have to speed up to complete the task, and then come back to accompany Kana. He said silently in his heart. You are finally here, Gildarts. Let's go. Gildarts obviously heard the meaning and responded awkwardly. Okay, let's go, I've already bought the ticket. In that case, please tell me the purpose of your visit first. Gildarts doesn't know the specific mission of this help yet, and it will be difficult to deal with it without intelligence. Northern Territory, Deliora. Hearing the word Deliora, Gildarts paused, then quickened his pace and followed closely, feeling a little excited. This trip is really interesting. Is it a demon? By the way, what's your name? I haven't asked yet. I can't keep calling you that person. Gildart suddenly realized that he didn't know the other person's name. Call me Sunday. The answer was still concise and clear. Sun. What a strange name. It's not as nice as the name of Master Gildarts. Gildart stroked his beard and whispered the name. With this name and such strength, there seems to be no such person in the kingdom of Fiori. Wait, are you going to take the bus like this? Gildarts pointed at Sun's black windbreaker and the hooded jacket. I will show my true face before getting on the bus. Oh. Gildarts looked at Sun with a smirk. He was very interested in Sun's true appearance. After checking the ticket, Gildarts saw Sun's appearance. He was just an ordinary person, but his hair was quite unique. However, Sun put on a hood afterwards, which didn't give anyone a chance to remember him. Gildarts took the ticket, glanced at the car number, and walked into the car. But as he walked, he noticed something strange. He looked back and found that Sun had walked into another car with a puzzled look on his face. Seeing this, Gildarts ran over and grabbed Sunday. Wait, Sun, why are the compartments still separated? He asked suspiciously. Well, I didn't buy them together. Sun replied expressionlessly. Really? Gildarts looked at Sun with suspicion, as if he wanted to find a flaw in his face, but Sun ignored Gildarts's suspicion and walked straight to his own carriage. Looking at Sun's receding back, Gildarts hesitated to speak, and finally sighed, muttering to himself, if you don't want to reveal your identity, just say it. I'm not the kind of person who likes to pry into other people's privacy. Why be so cautious? The two got on the train, found their own beds, and put down their luggage. After Sun packed his things, he sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the scenery outside the window, as if he was thinking about something. Unexpectedly, Gildarts swaggered across the carriage, came to Sun's side, sat down on his bed, and lay down. What are you doing? Sun asked somewhat dissatisfiedly. I came to chat with you and ask about the details of this incident. Gildarts mainly wanted to know why Sun wanted to attack Deliora, as well as detailed information about Deliora. There are no details. Just go find it and kill it. It has lived long enough. Sun noticed that there were people on the beds around him, and Gildarts didn't say it clearly, so he made a quick decision and communicated with Gildarts through telepathy. Well, then you know where it is now. Don't tell me you didn't find it and asked me for help. Gildarts thought this mission was quite interesting, but he still asked the key question. As far as I know, it is currently dormant in a snow cave. I don't know when it will come out to destroy the town, so we must take this opportunity to destroy it. Sun told Gildarts what he knew. Well, okay, but we'd better act as soon as possible. Gildarts said seriously. Are you a little anxious? I have to go back quickly, Kana is still waiting for me. Gildart said, and he began to imagine Kana's figure in his mind, still calling her dad affectionately, and Gildart's eyes were full of love. Son didn't say a word, walked straight over and pushed Gildart's off the bed, then lay down on it, turned around and closed his eyes, as if he didn't want to have any communication with Gildart's. Seeing this, Gildart's also tactfully returned to his own carriage. It was late, and it was indeed time to go back and rest. At this time, Leila had arrived at the terminal of this train. Due to the repeated use of teleportation magic, his magic power was too much, but he still took the time to rent a carriage and rush to the town where Wooloo was, while recovering his magic power while the carriage was moving. Since the northern region is full of snow-capped mountains, the next journey can basically only rely on carriages and hiking. After all, it snows all year round here, and trains cannot run in such bad weather. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a long day of traveling, Leila finally arrived at the town where Wooloo was. He took a short rest and found a hotel in the town and settled down. Next, he had to wait. When the time was right, Leila went out to Wooloo's cabin outside the town. It was daytime, Wooloo was still teaching Leo, and Leila stood in the distance and watched quietly. As night fell, Leo had fallen asleep in the house, so Leila gently knocked on the window of Wooloo's room. Wooloo was awakened by the sudden sound. She immediately got up and looked around, then noticed the figure outside the window and showed a state of alert. Leila opened the telepathy to talk to Wooloo and explained to her, I have no ill intentions, I came to ask you for help. Wooloo did not let down her guard when she heard what the person said in the telepathy, but she was still confident in her own strength, and if this person really needed help, Wooloo thought to herself, come in. Seeing that Wooloo had let down her guard a little, Leila teleported into Wooloo's room like a ghost. Teleportation magic. Wooloo thought to herself when she saw Leila teleport directly into the room from the window. Hello, Wooloo. Leila said politely when she saw Wooloo. Who are you? Wooloo stared at the man in front of him. Leila was wearing a black windbreaker with a large cotton jacket underneath. It was no wonder Wooloo was too vigilant. His outfit was indeed a little weird, but Leila had no choice. The north was really cold and she was not used to it. First of all, I mean no harm. Secondly, I want to ask you for a favor. Leila went straight to the point, without any hesitation, and was also avoiding the question. Help. Wooloo looked at Leila with a puzzled look. Of course, this is not a request, but an exchange of equal value. I will use an important piece of information in exchange for your help. Leila continued. What's the matter? Ultia. Leila's words were like a flash of lightning, instantly arousing Wooloo's murderous intent. Wooloo placed both hands on her waist, her left hand was in a palm, and her right hand was clenched into a fist. A dazzling white magic circle suddenly lit up. However, Wooloo did not launch an attack. She just stared at Leila coldly, and her meaning was self-evident. She's still alive. Leila felt Wooloo's threatening look and blurted out without hesitation. No, it's impossible. The people from the Magic Development Bureau said she has. Wooloo stopped what he was doing, stared at Leila with eyes wide open in disbelief. So, if you do me a favor, I will tell you all about her. Leila took the opportunity to put forward her own conditions. How can I trust you? Wooloo obviously would not easily believe what this person said. These are the truths about the Magic Development Bureau. I believe you will know after reading this. Leila took out a stack of information from behind her back and handed it to Wooloo, then took out a photo. Wooloo picked up the information and glanced at it hastily. When she saw the photo Leila handed over, her hands trembled as if she had been electrocuted. She quickly put the information down and held the photo tightly with both hands. Her eyes were moistened instantly. Then she covered her mouth with her right hand, revealing an expression as if she had seen a ghost. She could not calm down for a long time. I won't do anything without a bottom line. Wooloo calmed down and accepted Leila's conditions, but she said she would stick to her bottom line. It's okay, this matter is very simple, I want you to accept someone as your disciple. What is the character of this person? I promise he won't let you down. Okay, but you can't interfere when I teach him. Okay, let's get ready to go. I think you can't wait. When Leila saw that the matter was settled, she took Wooloo and prepared to leave. Let's go. Wooloo looked at Leila and urged anxiously. Then stand still. Leila stood beside Wooloo and immediately cast a teleportation spell. A purple magic circle bloomed under their feet, and then the two disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. After teleporting, Leila and Wooloo arrived at their destination, the Magic Development Bureau. This is a crescent-shaped mechanical building. The development members in it are all dressed in white clothes, with a light blue cloak on their shoulders and a red mask on their faces. The mask and cloak are printed with the logo of the Magic Development Bureau. What are your plans? Wooloo stared at the building from a distance and whispered to Leila, who was standing beside her. I have recorded the details in the files. Most of them are ordinary developers with average strength. The only threat is the director of the Magic Development Bureau. However, I am not sure if he is here. There was a hint of caution in Leila's voice. I can't stay calm anymore. Wooloo looked at the building in front of her, and a strong hatred surged in her heart. Brian's words at that time kept echoing in her mind, piercing her heart like a sharp thorn. She thought to herself, if she could have persisted a little longer, maybe she could have changed the current situation. Don't panic, I'll go in and find out, you wait for my news. A trace of worry flashed in Leila's eyes. She didn't worry too much about Brian, but what Leila was really afraid of was his other personality, Wu. To be honest, the combat power setting in the anime is extremely confusing and cannot be compared at all. It is also unclear whether Wooloo can defeat Wu, so for the sake of safety, it is better to observe first. Okay. Wooloo took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She knew that she couldn't act impulsively at this moment. Not long after, Leila came back to Wooloo like a breeze and said, let's go. Brian is not here. Then, Leila cast a teleportation magic and teleported Wooloo and him to a room without attracting anyone's attention. Experimental Subject 3373 was written on the door. Entering the room, what caught my eyes were the strange decorations around. There were almost no daily necessities in the room, only a bed. And Ultia on the bed was sleeping, her eyes were a little swollen, and there were still traces of tears on her face. She seemed to be having a terrible nightmare, and her brows were tightly furrowed. Ultia. Ultia's tears burst out like a flood. She walked quickly to the bed, stared at Ultia who was sleeping soundly, gently stroked her face, and whispered softly. I used a sleeping spell to let her have a good sleep first, and then leave here. Leila looked at the touching scene of the mother and daughter reuniting, and although she was touched, she still carefully carried out her plan. What about the other children here? Wooloo learned from the information provided by Leila that the developers here treated these children as experimental subjects and used them to develop magic. Eulucia was number 3373. The number of similar children has been increasing in recent years. Don't worry, I have copied the information and submitted it to the council. Brian's crime is doomed to fail. Calculating the time, the council's troops should be here soon. Before leaving, Leila had handed the key information to Yajima. This was also thanks to the deep friendship between him and Mr. Makarov. Otherwise, Leila really didn't know who to hand it over to. At this time, outside the Magic Development Bureau, the council's troops were already on full alert. I'll take you back first. Leila said, and took Wooloo and Ultia back to the cabin, then turned around and left. Wait, you haven't made it clear what conditions you promised me. Wooloo gently put Ultia on the bed, and when he saw Leila was about to leave, he hurriedly asked. I will contact you later. Leila left this sentence and disappeared through teleportation magic, leaving only the mother and daughter to enjoy this rare time alone. However, he secretly took a photo when Wooloo was not paying attention. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, for some reason, Ulter felt that her sleep was particularly comfortable. The pillow was so soft, the quilt was so warm, and she felt a familiar embrace in her dream, as if everything had become beautiful today. Her eyebrows trembled slightly, and she slowly opened her eyes, but the torment in her heart did not decrease at all. She didn't want to open her eyes and face the room. They said that the device could enhance magic power, but she was afraid. She was afraid of pain, but today seemed different. Without the whispers of those people, the surroundings were so quiet that it made people feel at ease. Altair stared at the wooden house above her head. She realized that this was not a laboratory. This small wooden house was as familiar as a painting in her memory. She gently stroked her face and pinched her arm hard. It hurts, this is real. Tears slid down her cheeks like a flood. She struggled to get out of bed and carefully pushed open the door in her memory. The back of a woman came into her sight. She could no longer suppress, "Mom, Mom," that she strode towards the figure she had been thinking about day and night. When Wooloo heard the voice, her body trembled slightly, and then she turned around and her eyes met with Altia. Wooloo squatted down and hugged Altia tightly in her arms. Her eyes gradually became moist, and she smiled and responded softly with a gentle tone, "Mom is." "Mom, I'm sorry, please don't abandon Altia." Altia grabbed Altia's clothes tightly and cried in her arms. "It's Mom's fault. Mom will never leave Altia alone again." Ulu said distressedly while listening to Altia's words. Such a touching scene was interrupted by an uninvited guest. It was Leo who came back from the town with a shopping bag. This morning, Ulu told Leo about Altia's situation. He was a little shocked and felt deeply sympathetic for Altia's experience. After that, Ulu asked Leo to help buy some food in the town. She couldn't go with him because she didn't want Altia to find that she was not there when she woke up. After their conversation was interrupted, Ulu talked to Altia about Leo and introduced Leo to her. Leo smiled, he looked towards Ulu's daughter and said hello softly. Eulucia stood behind Ulu, holding the corner of her clothes tightly, and responded to Leo timidly. After a simple greeting, Ulu gently picked up Eulucia and placed her on a chair next to the dining table. He took the food from Leo's hand, and then asked Eulucia to wait for a moment, and went to the kitchen to get a bowl of steaming porridge and placed it in front of Eulucia. At this time, the atmosphere at the table was very strange. Leo's brain was working fast, thinking about how to speak so as not to appear awkward and to take care of Eulucia's mood. Eulucia tried her best although she was a little concerned about the boy in front of her. The bowl of hot porridge that Ulu served her was more attractive to her. At this moment, her stomach began to growl, so she picked up the spoon and tasted it carefully, one mouthful after another, feeling the familiar taste. However, tears fell from her eyes involuntarily. Leo found that Eulucia was crying, and he was at a loss for what to do. He was about to call Ulu out, but was interrupted by Eulucia's words, "I'm fine." Then, he saw that Eulucia continued to drink the porridge, so he sat aside silently and watched her quietly. After that, Ulu called Leo to serve the meal. Leo immediately stood up and walked quickly to the kitchen. Altia also stood up and helped to serve the meal. Ulu and Altia expressed their gratitude gently, and the three of them sat at the table and enjoyed breakfast together. Then, Ulu asked Leo to go outside to exercise. Leo understood and went out quickly. Only Ulu and Altia were left in the house. Ulu explained to her that she did not mean to abandon her. She told Altia about what had happened over the years, and Altia finally understood the truth. Altia wiped away the tears on Ulu's face and said softly, "Mom, Altia is back. Well, Mom swears that she will never leave you alone again." Ulu hugged Altia tightly in her arms and stroked her head gently. Wooloo was a little worried. She was afraid that Altia's experience in the Development Bureau would cause psychological trauma to her, but seeing that Altia was in good condition now, she felt relieved. When she realized that Altia was still wearing laboratory clothes, Wooloo searched for Altia's previous clothes, but the results were not satisfactory. Wooloo couldn't help but sighed. "Altia has grown up, and the clothes that Mom left for you are no longer suitable." Then Wooloo took Altia to the town to buy new clothes for her, and Leo was left at home. His clothes were also borrowed for Altia to wear first and returned to him when he came back. "I feel so redundant. It would be nice if I had someone to accompany me. Leo said goodbye to Wooloo and sighed as he returned to the house. In the town, Wooloo was trying on clothes for Ultia. Every time Ultia tried on a piece of clothing, she would stand in front of Wooloo and turn around. Wooloo would also reply with praise, "Ultia is so beautiful." The two of them tried on clothes in the store happily and finally bought several pieces of clothing for Ultia. If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't take any more, Wooloo would have wanted to continue. The two of them walked home talking and laughing. However, a figure saw Wooloo from a distance and shouted loudly. Wooloo turned around and found that it was the owner of the hotel in the town. After answering, she asked, "What's the matter?" That the owner replied, "A guest in the store asked me to give you this letter." Wooloo took the letter handed over by the owner with full of doubts. Now the only person who can write to her is that person. She asked the owner of the hotel, "What does that person look like?" The boss shook his head and said, "I don't know. He was wearing clothes and I couldn't see his face. Besides, the letter was given to me last night. The customer said he must give it to you today." "Well, thank you." Wooloo thanked the innkeeper and turned back. After returning home, Wooloo carefully opened the letter, which read, "Wooloo, although I don't have the heart to disturb your reunion, please come to this town in 2 days. The disciple I asked you to accept is here. His name is Grateful Pasta. In addition, I have a suggestion for you. At present, Ulysses' body is fine, but just in case, I suggest you go to Magnolia, where there is a healing magician with superb medical skills." "Mom, what's in the letter?" Ultia, who was standing by, changed into new clothes and put the extra clothes into the closet. She couldn't help but ask curiously. "Well, nothing, Mom has some things to deal with. Does Ultia want to go with Mom?" After reading the letter, Wooloo stroked the well-behaved Ultia, her heart full of love. "Yes, I want to go with my mother." Ultair nodded firmly. On the other side, Sun and Gildarts had already got off the train. They both decided to take a day off to recuperate and continue their journey tomorrow. Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 rooms. Sun took out the money and asked the innkeeper for 2 rooms. The owner took 2 room keys and led them to the room. After the two put their luggage in the room, they went out to eat together. When they arrived at the tavern, Gildarts's true nature was completely exposed. There was no way, this uncle was like this. Even with Kana, it was difficult to change. Fortunately, Sun did not touch Gildarts's luggage, otherwise this uncle would really be angry. After the meal, Gildarts said, "After that, it will be free time." Then he left Sun with a chic back. Sun returned to the hotel and prepared to rest. Thinking back to the journey, it was really hard. First, in the town of Foss, the western entrance to the border of Fiore, the two planned to cross the river to the national border in the east. Gildarts received a commission in the town to defeat the aquatic monsters that hindered the operation of ships. Unicol, the reward is as high as 30 WJ, thinking that it is just right to make some money. By the way, Gildarts is still full of energy. On the boat, Gildarts only used 1 punch to deal with the monster, but the boat was also destroyed. After falling into the water, the two could only swim to the other side. Fortunately, the distance was not far. After crossing the river, they arrived at the border city of Moniai. The two first found an inn to rest for a while. Gildarts went out for a while, saying that he was going to ask for the reward, but there was no news for a long time. When Gildarts came back, Sun saw that he was a little embarrassed and asked what happened. Gildarts didn't say much, just urging him to hurry up. He picked up his luggage and ran away. Sun walked out of the inn and saw a large number of troops coming to the town. On the way, Gildarts told him in detail what happened. It turned out that he robbed a woman bought by the Lord. The woman and her sister were bought by the Lord to pay off a debt. Seeing that their lives were not going well, Gildarts accepted their commission. Later, he sent the woman and her sister on a ship heading west and let them cross the river to leave. In the end, Gildarts successfully sent them out of the town, but Unicol's commission to conquer the city also ended in failure because it was the Lord's. Gildarts was sent a task, and this move of Gildarts undoubtedly ruined the good fortune of the Cappuccino Lord. However, the army arrived and arrested the lord who tried to occupy Monii as his own territory. As soon as Gildart saw the army, he fled in panic, thinking that they were here to arrest him. He is indeed one of the most destructive members of Fairy Tale, and he is particularly afraid of the army. When he arrived at the next town, on a street, Gildarts met a sad lady again. She cried Master Wizard and asked Gildarts to help her get revenge, so, Gildarts found the 5 bridges one and, Sun was very puzzled as to why Gildarts always met women outside and always encountered various accidents. He really deserved to be the protagonist. But Sun was not in a hurry. After all, everything was still in plan. Sun, who was lying on the bed to rest, was thinking that he could reach the town in 2 more days. The time was just right. Suddenly, a hurried knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. Gildarts was knocking hard on the door outside, shouting his name. Sun got up from the bed helplessly, walked to the door, opened the door, and asked, "What's the matter?" "Something happened. Do you want to go with me?" Gildarts's expression was serious. "What's the matter? Tell me." Sun sighed silently in his heart. He was used to this kind of situation and asked calmly. "A family in this town asked me for help to rescue her child." It turned out that when Gildarts was drinking in the tavern, he said that he was the strongest wizard. As a result, on his way back after drinking, he was caught up by the family and asked him to rescue their child. "Okay." Sun agreed without hesitation, then closed the door and followed Gildarts out. Then, Sun and Gildarts walked on the road covered by heavy snow, and their footprints seemed to be submerged in this white ocean. "What are the details?" Sun asked Gildarts. "The wizard guild called Noisy Seconds kidnapped the child of that family. I don't know what their purpose is, but the child can use a kind of magic, speeding up the passage of time in the egg." Gildarts told the information he knew. "This magic is very useful." When Sun heard the effect of this magic, he immediately thought of the use scenario of this magic. If this magic is used to raise animals, it will be very convenient. "I think so too, so what does the guild want to use this magic to hatch?" Gildarts and Sun have the same idea. "Let's go and have a look." As they spoke, the two saw a building that looked like a fortress on the snow, with many cannons on it. Sun was thinking about some plans, but Gildarts walked over with a swagger. Seeing this, Sun followed closely. The two entered through the pipe at the entrance of the guild and suddenly sensed a strange breath. "Sun, do you feel it?" Gildarts looked at Sun seriously and asked. A very strange smell." Sun also had a serious expression. He had never felt such a smell before. "It's familiar, but I can't remember what it is." "Let's take a closer look." Gildarts held his chin with his hand, stroked his beard, and tried to search for the source of this breath in his mind. Finally, he decided to go directly to find out. "Okay." Sun agreed. To be honest, for some reason, the hall in the guild was empty. They should all be where the smell was. Sun used sleep magic to make everyone he met on the road fall asleep. After that, the two followed the smell all the way. After passing through several rooms, they finally found the room with the strange smell. When they walked in, they saw a group of people standing inside, including a dwarf on stilts, who was particularly eye-catching. In the center of the room was a huge egg, surrounded by various strange devices, and a little girl was standing next to it. "Who are you? How dare you break into my guild without permission? Where are the others? Why didn't you report it?" The dwarf on stilts saw Sun and Gildarts quietly enter the room and immediately asked angrily. Gildarts ignored him and cast his eyes on the little girl standing next to the egg. Comparing it with the client's description, he confirmed that she was Nano. "Are you Nano?" he asked softly. "Uncle, who are you?" Nano stopped what she was doing and looked at Gildarts in confusion. "I am the wizard your parents hired to take you home." After confirming that it was Nano, Gildarts smiled and said, "Do you think I'm heir?" Nez was furious that the two dared to enter his guild so casually. He immediately launched a spherical object towards Gildarts, with a small pointer on it. "I'm talking to the little girl," can you be quiet? Gildarts didn't move. The ball flew in front of him and shattered instantly. What? My magic is broken. Who are you? Nez was horrified. He looked at Gildarts in disbelief, as if he saw a monster. Oh, I remember, that's the devil's egg, right? You want to hatch it, right? I can't show mercy. Gildarts touched his head and suddenly became serious, because he remembered the smell of the egg, which was exactly the same as the smell of the devil in the previous commission to subdue the devil, and both exuded a disgusting feeling. Devil's egg? Is this the breath of the devil? These people really deserve to die. Sun heard what Gildarts said and muttered to himself. Destroy evil and reveal good. With a roar, Gildarts threw a punch with all his strength, and Nez flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. At the same time, the entire guild and the devil's egg were shattered under the powerful force of the crushing magic. Sun hugged Nano tightly and fled from here quickly, while Gildarts slowly walked out of the ruins. You've gone too far. Aren't you afraid of being recognized and reported to the council? Sun looked at Gildarts calmly, without any emotion in his eyes. It's okay. No one knows my identity anyway. Besides, the council will never tolerate the existence of the devil's egg. Gildarts smiled slightly, but then he looked at the ruins behind him expressionlessly. They sent Nano to the town. When Nano knocked on the door, her parents hugged her and cried with joy. Gildarts and Sun had already left and were ready to continue their journey. Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 days later, Sun and Gildarts finally arrived at their destination. Gildarts, are you ready? Sun looked at Gildarts with a serious expression. It's been prepared for a long time. Let's go and let Master Gildarts meet it. Gildarts chuckled twice, clenched his fists, and was eager to try. When the two men first walked into the cave, they did not notice anything unusual. As they continued to walk inside, there was an extremely subtle breath in the air, which was the disgusting breath of the devil, but when the two men went deeper inside, the breath gradually dissipated. The two were startled, looked at each other, and secretly said that it was not good. They quickly ran towards the depths of the cave, but found that there was no sign of Deliora at all. Sun hurriedly said, let's go and check out the town next door. Gildarts nodded fiercely, without saying anything more, no longer hiding his strength, and rushed towards the town next door. Because they had been on the road for the past 2 days, and took the path to go straight here, they did not pass through the town, and the direction of the town was opposite to the direction they came from, so if Deliora arrived in that town, they would not hear any movement. Originally, they planned to get rid of Deliora in this uninhabited place to avoid destroying other things. But now, the development of things has exceeded their expectations. At this time in the town, Deliora is still wantonly destroying the town. However, it is gratifying that there are not too many casualties. Only a woman stood in front of Deliora, that is Wulu. After receiving the letter written by Leila to her, Wulu quickly packed her luggage and prepared to leave. Therefore, she arrived in advance. Wulu went to this town and found Gray. Wulu's heart was full of doubts. That person always concealed his identity, but asked her to accept Gray as her apprentice. What is the relationship between him and Gray? She did not immediately go up to ask the townspeople about Gray's information, but found a hotel in this small town and opened 2 rooms, one for her and her daughter, and one for Leo. Wulu is well known in this area. After all, her strength is very strong. She can be called Holy 10, and she has rescued many people, so many people know her. Under her indirect questioning, a group of children told her about Gray's situation. Now Gray lives with his parents. Wulu thought, Gray's family is very good. How could he go to Magnolia with me? It is not easy to accept him as an apprentice. Why did that person insist on me accepting him? Ulu had already decided to go to Magnolia after fulfilling her promise and ask the magical healing magician to check on Ultia's condition. However, she was in trouble at the moment. She didn't know how to accept an apprentice. She had no choice but to go to Gray's house. After entering, she was entertained by Gray's parents. At the same time, she also saw Gray's potential and Gray's character. She explained her purpose to Gray's parents, but Gray's parents seemed a little embarrassed. After all, they had to leave here. They finally promised to think about it carefully, and Gray, who was standing in the house, didn't know what he was thinking. After that, she returned to the hotel, but she suddenly felt something strange. Looking far outside the town, she saw a huge figure approaching the town. She couldn't help but be startled in her heart. Deliora. Ulu immediately took Leo and Ultia to the mayor's house, shouting on the way for the people around to flee quickly. Deliora was coming. After Ulu arrived at the mayor's house, she urged him to sound the alarm in the town. Suddenly, Deliora shot a powerful magic bullet from his mouth and flew straight in the direction of the town. Ice Make Rose Garden. When Ulu saw Deliora gathering power, she quickly gathered her magic power with both hands, gathered it at her left waist, and then launched a powerful magic on the ground. Circles of giant roses made of ice surrounded Deliora's body, trying to block Deliora's attack. However, the explosion caused by the magic bullet instantly shattered Ulu's ice wall. In the chaotic crowd, there was a figure that swiftly shuttled back and forth in the explosion. Oh my God, luckily I am smart. It turned out to be Leila. On the way here with Gildarts, he took advantage of the toilet time to materialize Wukong, and then came to the town alone to see if Ulu had come to the town. After all, why fight alone when you can fight in a group? Who knew that he would encounter such a thing as soon as he arrived here? Leila could only teleport in a race against time. However, his teleportation ability was limited, and he could not take away all the people affected by the explosion safely. After feeling the overwhelming aura of Deliora, Ulu, who was standing aside, made a prompt decision and quickly let Ultia and Leo follow the residents of the town to leave this dangerous place. Leo, take good care of her. Ulu turned around, looked at the two of them firmly, and solemnly instructed them, then ran towards Deliora without hesitation. Eulucia looked at Ulu's back as she walked away, feeling reluctant and trying to catch up, but was held tightly by Leo. Ultia, let's go first. We will only be a burden to Ultia here. Leo pulled Ultia to explain. Mom. Ultia stretched out her hands, trying to grab Ulu, but she was held back by Leo and couldn't take a step forward. Ice Make Shotgun Impatience. Beside Ulu, crystal impatience flowers bloomed, and ice bullets shot out from the stamens, shooting at Deliora. After a puff of smoke, it did not cause any effect, just some insignificant scratches. I didn't expect my body to be so strong. Ulu whispered softly. Deliora spit out another powerful magic bullet from his mouth, whistling towards Ulu. However, Ulu remained calm and continued to cast magic calmly. Ice Make Shield. A dazzling white magic circle appeared in response, and shields were stacked in front of Ulu. Finally, after breaking more than a dozen ice shields, Deliora's attack was blocked. Ice Make Infinite Blades. Ice Make Return. Big Lily. Ulu ran towards Deliora quickly and cast several magic spells. A large number of sharp ice blades like leaves emerged from her back and hit Deliora's arm in unison. At the same time, a huge lily was created around her body, spinning rapidly around Ulu. Ulu continuously released magic and engaged in a thrilling battle with Deliora. Sometimes she released icy ice blades, and sometimes she released colorful impatience, which hit Deliora's right arm like a storm. Under her continuous attack, there was an obvious wound there. However, Ulu's high-intensity use of magic really made people worry about how long she could last. Ice Make White Rose Garden. Ulu touched the ground with both hands, and in an instant, the ground around him froze. Ice roses continuously emerged from the ground, tightly surrounding Deliora with spiral attacks, launching fierce attacks. Deliora screamed, and his whole body was attacked. It was obvious that he had been hurt. One of the roses pierced his right arm like a sword, and Ulu on the other side also consumed a huge amount of energy. Ulu is so strong. This magic is not only powerful, but also so beautiful. Why hasn't the uncle arrived yet? Why is he so slow? If not, I'll speed him up. After teleporting the suffering residents one by one to the hillside far away from the town, Leila disappeared from the spot and stood far away to watch the battle. This time, the experience of fighting against the strong was very rare for him. More importantly, Leila liked Wooloo's magic so much. The town was full of flowers made of ice. Leila held the broken ice petals, and even the lines on them were clearly visible. Leila was also a little anxious. With his current strength, he would only become a burden to Wooloo if he rushed forward. But under the current circumstances, Wooloo didn't know how long he could hold on. Deliora kept releasing magic bullets, and Wooloo could only try his best to resist. Wooloo was still trying his best to ensure that he would block the attack without hurting others, but blindly defending would always have omissions. An attack was instantly launched towards the town again, and Wooloo was overwhelmed. At the moment when the attack came into contact with the ground and was about to explode, it was suddenly shattered into cubes and lost its effect. "Uncle, you are so slow." Leila suddenly turned her head to look at Gildarts, who had arrived late from the other side of the town. Chapter 31. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wooloo watched the magic bullets attack the town. She was anxious, but she could do nothing. However, to her shock, the attack was crushed in an instant. What is this magic? A familiar feeling surged in Wooloo's heart. She remembered the man she had only met once. The magic he used was the shattering magic. "Hey, Wooloo, long time no see." Gildarts took the attack easily, then smiled and looked at Wooloo, who was in a daze. "Long time no see, Gildarts, you are still so strong." Wooloo saw Gildarts, and a big stone in her heart finally fell. She smiled and replied. Son looked at Deliora in the distance, and was secretly comparing her strength in his heart. Her body size was much larger than that of the gorilla. At this time, a message sounded in his mind. It was Leila's message. "Do you two know each other?" Son turned to look at Wooloo and Gildarts and asked. "Well, I met her when I was on a mission to defeat monsters in the north." Gildarts couldn't help but smile slightly as he recalled his encounter with Wooloo. "Who is this?" Wooloo looked at Son curiously, and then asked Gildarts, because Son and the people who helped her before were wearing the same cloak. "His name is Son, he's a friend of mine, and we're here to kill this guy." "I can't do it." Son shook his head helplessly. He knew that with Leila's strength, she couldn't bear his consumption. "It doesn't matter, but Wooloo, let me do it." Gildarts laughed twice. Then he stretched his muscles and looked serious. "Don't you need my help?" Wooloo saw Gildarts rubbing his hands and wanted to go with Gildarts. "Just watch my performance." Gildarts left a word and rushed towards Deliora. Deliora saw a figure rushing in front of him, roared, clenched his left fist and hit Gildarts fiercely. Gildarts clenched his fist and directly confronted it head-on, but he was evenly matched. It is hard to imagine how Gildarts has trained his body to confront such a huge Deliora head-on. After Gildarts tested Deliora's physical strength, he immediately changed his fist into a palm, and a large white net was released from his hand, tightly wrapping Deliora's right hand. The magic penetrated silently. After a while, blood began to seep from the inside of Deliora's right arm, and finally the entire right arm was shattered. Gildarts rarely uses magic every time he fights with others. After all, few people can directly receive his shattering magic based on super advanced destructive magic. His shattering magic can change the nature of the shattering according to his own wishes, and there is no magic circle. Gildarts is concentrating on fighting here, while Wooloo and Son on the other side are talking leisurely, forming a sharp contrast. After all, both of them know how powerful Gildarts is. "Son, what is your relationship with him?" Wooloo asked with full of doubts. However, Wooloo was answered by silence. Leila had told him to pretend not to hear when asked about his identity. Seeing this, Wooloo stopped asking, but her mind was full of thoughts. These two people did not show their true faces. They led her to this town and brought Gildarts here. Their purpose was obviously Deliora. All this was so coincidental that she couldn't help but feel suspicious. And the matter of Magnolia, everything seemed to be arranged. After a few minutes, Deliora was covered with wounds, and blood began to ooze from his body. But Gildarts was unharmed, and even his cloak was not damaged at all. Deliora made a desperate move, gathered all the magic power in his body, condensed it into a magic bullet in his mouth, and prepared to make a final struggle. Seeing this, Gildart stopped dealing with him and directly used his ultimate move. Destroy evil and reveal good. One day, he gathered the magic power in his body into his fist, and then quickly punched out. A dazzling white light, an invisible attack, easily shattered the magic bullet. The moment the magic bullet dissipated, it continued to attack Deliora. Deliora let out a desperate roar, and then her whole body was shattered into countless pieces. Gildarts took a deep breath, and the powerful aura emanating from his body receded. Then, he walked towards Wooloo and Sun with a proud step. How about it, simple? Gildart said happily. This battle made him feel very comfortable, as if all the pores on his body were opened. He had not experienced this comfortable feeling for a long time. In his eyes, Deliora was a living target with no ability to fight back. Facing such an opponent, he did not need to hold back. In the past, he basically held back. After all, his magic was too dangerous. If he was not careful, it would cause great damage and even hurt others. Sun stared at Gildarts, his eyes burning with blazing flames and full of desire. He secretly regretted that it was a pity that his condition did not allow it, otherwise he really wanted to fight with Gildarts. Yeah, it's really strong. Sun's voice was filled with envy. I'm glad you're all right. Ulu looked at Gildarts with a smile, secretly amazed. Now that it's over, I should leave. Sun suddenly heard Leila's message in his mind, and he said goodbye to Gildarts and Ulu. Are you in such a hurry to leave? Before Gildarts could finish his words, Sun's figure disappeared. Gildarts was stunned and stood there. After a while, he came to his senses and roared loudly, Hey, Sun, you are too much. You ran away after using me. You are such a heartless person. Oh, Wooloo, I'm going back too. Seeing that Sun had left, Das prepared to go back to accompany Kana. He had been out for 2 weeks and missed Kana very much. Wait, I will go with you later. Wooloo's words surprised Gildarts. He asked in confusion, Why? Didn't you say you don't want to partner with me? What? Did you change your mind after seeing how brave I was when you were in danger and saved you from the fire and water? Gildart said jokingly, but he couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Wasn't Wooloo going to realize her dream here? Why did she suddenly change her plan? When he first met Wooloo, Gildarts invited her to be his partner, but unfortunately Wooloo didn't agree. Wooloo said she didn't want to leave the place where she lived with her children, and she wanted to promote the arrival of the next generation in this place. I found my daughter. Wooloo smiled. Now her only concern was her daughter and her disciples. She found happiness again. Ah, that's good. Gildarts looked at Ulu's smile, just like the way she talked about her dreams when they first met. Her eyes were full of tenderness and hope. But her health is not good. I heard that there is a healing magician with superb medical skills in the town of your guild. I would like to ask him for help. While Ulu expressed his thoughts to Gildarts, he was also worried about Eulushia's health. Oh, are you talking about Polyusica? She is the pharmacist consultant of our guild, and her medical skills are indeed very good. Okay, I will wait for you to go together. Gildarts heard this and decided to go with Ulu without hesitation. Wooloo, I have a daughter too. When we get there, I'll show you. She's very cute. All right. Everything came to an end, and the two walked and talked as they headed towards the hillside far away from the town.